Hey there pretty people, and welcome back to Such Pretty. Today I have an updated version of my brow tutorial for you guys. I had asked you guys on Instagram if you would be interested in seeing an updated version, since my very first video here on YouTube was my brow tutorial, but since it was my very first video, I was a little stiff, a little, I guess, nervous, a little more uncomfortable in front of the camera. And so now that I've had a little more experience talking to a camera, I feel like I can explain things a little bit better and just kind of be better. Today's tutorial is going to be a little bit different. I definitely talk a lot in this video, and I also go over my brow story again. So without keeping you guys waiting any longer, let's go ahead and get started. So before I get started on drawing my eyebrows and mapping out the brows, I go ahead and put the Urban Decay eyeshadow primer, and I apply this all over my eyelid and over where my brows would be. So I apply it to both eyelids and apply over my brow. I go a little higher, a little over to the temple, and make sure to go underneath my lower lash line. I also wanted to talk about my brow story. I'll put a little bit more primer here. And my brow story as to why I don't have eyebrows is about a year ago, and a majority of you guys know this, but in case you haven't heard this story yet, sorry, I'm like pulling my eyeballs all apart in front of you guys, but you know, eye primer and let that sit a little bit. But about a year ago, no, not about a year ago, over a year ago, I decided that I wanted to shave my eyebrows off. And the reason why I decided to do that was because I had felt that as an artist, like as somebody who uses makeup as a medium to create art on their face, I kind of felt like I was at a standstill. Like I felt like I was in a rut, and I needed a way to push myself further. I needed something that was going to like just push me as an artist to do better. And for me, that was to shave off my eyebrows. I talked to my mom about it, I talked to Kayla about it, and I talked to my husband about it, and I was just like, you know, this is something I want to do. And everybody's like, you know, I fully support you. You know, if you want to do it, absolutely do it. You know, and society kind of looks at people without brows like, you know, people hold, like, especially in the beauty community, a lot of people hold like importance in how your brows look. I mean, there's entire companies founded on having like the perfect brow. And I was just kind of like, you know, I was somebody who didn't have naturally nice brows. Like I had like, you know, Peter Gallagher caterpillar eyebrows. And they were uneven and all kinds of stuff because my face is all uneven, you know, I'm a human, sort of thing happens. And so I was like, you know, what the best way, like now I'm rambling, the best way for me to push myself forward and to have nice brows, if I want nice brows, is going to, like, if I want nice brows that day, I'm going to have to work at it. So I shaved off my brows. I'm really proud of how far I've come. Like, I look at my photos of my brows a year ago compared to now, and I'm just like, yes, did a good job. You're doing a good job. Moving on. So when I map out my brows, I use an eyebrow pencil. This particular one is from, let me see, Rimmel. It's from Rimmel, and depending on the shade of brows that I'm doing, and this whole technique applies to when I do my color brows as well. So I'm not going to make a color brow tutorial, mostly because it is the exact same way unless I'm doing something specifically different with the brows. So anyways, eyebrow pencil, and what I do is I map out the shape of the brows that I want that day or for that look or whatever I'm doing. So today I'm just gonna kind of do like traditional curved, you know, brows, I guess. So I take my eyebrow pencil and I kind of like make angry eyes, like, you know, furrow your brow. And you see how you kind of have this little lip here when you do that? And so usually I, you know, looking in the mirror, make my angry eyebrows, or angry no brows. I kind of start from the bottom here, see the little bottom corner, and then I'm gonna have to get closer to the screen just because I can't see, I'm blind. And start from the bottom, and then see like how you have like this natural curve here, and everybody has this. You know, you have your brow, even though the hairs are gone, your eyes still kind of have this bridge here to your brow bone. So, you know, you kind of furrow, you're like, okay, and then I start drawing. I just kind of do light strokes, and sometimes I draw them like really high, like Vulcan brows, like really straight pointy brows, or, you know, whatever you choose to do that day is awesome. And then your brow bone here, like the round part of your brow bone, I don't know, like inner brow bone, outer brow bone, what? So I start at an angle, and then right when you get here to, I guess, the brow bone, I don't know, the roundy part of your brow bone, and I like to start curving. And then just kind of following the round shape of my brow. Making sure I'm in frame. And then, you know, kind of draw it out a little long. And then I do the other side, and for some reason this side always comes out better looking than my right side, even though I am right dominant. And then I try to make sure they look even. So basically this line here is the bottom of the eyebrow. And don't forget, guys, if you can't make them perfect, brows are sisters, not twins, unless you are super blessed by the makeup gods with perfect brows. You see, like, when you kind of furrow your brow, how you see this little kind of, like, it's almost like your skin still kind of protrudes exactly where your brows are. And so, you know, you kind of furrow, and you see how the skin kind of folds here, kind of bends. So I just still follow that. Like, oh, that's my skin brows. That's where my phantom ghost brows are chilling. I start from the corner here, from the top, and then just kind of... Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I'm in frame and I can still see in the mirror. And I just kind of draw, sketching kind of, and connect. See, and then you got a little edge of your brow. And then I do the other side. And then I kind of draw halfway. So you kind of get like this brow shape here. And like I said, if your brows aren't completely perfect, remember they are sisters, not twins. Nobody really has the exact same brow on either side. So now you kind of have a mapped out version of eyebrows. And from here, after I have the mapped out version on, I start applying my foundation. We're going to do is apply a brow pomade with a brush in the form of hairs. I'm going to draw them in like hair strokes. So my two current favorite products right now have been the Anastasia Beverly Hills brow pomades and the NYX Tame and Frame brow pomades. They're both essentially the same. The one thing I've noticed is that the NYX Tame and Frame is more thinner in consistency than the Anastasia brow pomades, but either or work. The important thing with this technique is your brush. And my most favorite brush right now is actually not a makeup brush, it is an acrylic paintbrush. I picked this up at Michael's. It is a Simply Simmons chisel brush. And I have a little tag on here because when I'm doing my makeup without contacts on, it's easier to find it. And this is what the brush tip looks like. And to me, this is the most important part of the brow application, is having a really tiny brush. Some people like to use angled brushes, and to be honest, whatever you're the most comfortable with will work perfectly. But for me, using a brush with a really short tip and stiff bristles that is flat in this chisel shape here work the best for me. Usually I'll use about 2 to 3 shades depending on how in depth I want my brow to look. And having the 3 different shades or even just the 2 shades, like I said, it creates that depth. It kind of shows lighter hairs, darker hairs, because since you don't have hair, you know, on your brows, you're kind of creating the illusion of hairs being there. I start with the lightest shade and then go to the darkest shade. So what I do is, you know, get some product here, you know, dip it in, and then see how it's kind of chunky here on the brush. Like, can you see that? The important thing is to get your brush as flat as possible. So I kind of smush it on the edge of the jar and try to get it super, super, super flat. And having it flat is going to create the best hair strokes because most hair isn't chunky. It's really, really thin. So I don't know if you guys can see here how thin I actually have the brush. See, super, super thin. And then you start creating brow strokes. I like to start at the front and create brow strokes going upwards and then slowly tapering off to the side and blending into this little tail that we've created. So then you say a little prayer to the makeup gods and hope that your hair strokes come out really good. Hair strokes done with the lightest shade, and now you're going to go in with your next shade darker and apply that in the exact same way that you applied the first shade. Flatten it, the product on your brush again, making sure it's super flat. See, I told you, this one always comes out looking better. I don't know. The makeup gods favor my left brow more than my right brow. But, you know, we're gonna try to make them even as possible. So the next thing I do is I take, it's an angled brush. Sometimes I use a lip brush, but basically whatever has a nice fine point. And I'm going to take a light shade concealer. You can use foundation, you can use eyeshadow, you can use whatever you like to, or a cream eyeshadow base, whatever you like, you know, the possibilities are endless, whatever you like to carve out your brows. But like I said, I like to use a light shade concealer, and I start from the bottom of the brow and just kind of trying to make sure I keep them even, and just cleaning up the edges here. of the brows, I like to use my foundation, and I'm going to go ahead and use the same angle brush. And I'm going to start at the edge of my brow. And kind of just, you know, carve out my brow. The carving of the brows is all done. And one final step that I do before I'm completely done with my brows, typically this is a step you guys don't see. On top of the primer, I take a base eyeshadow. This is actually a highlight shade. As you can see, I need a new one. This is the highlight shade from NYX in the color Cream, and I place this beneath the brow with a fluffy brush, kind of making it flat, almost like I'm carving out my brows with the eyeshadow. I recommend using an eyeshadow closest to your skin tone, and I like to use a couple shades lighter just because it helps brighter colors stand out more. And I apply this all over my eyelid and into the corners here, all over, including underneath the lower lash line. And the reason why I like to apply a base eyeshadow is, number one, base eyeshadows will help your other eyeshadows that you apply on top blend out more easily. Not only will this help your staying power of your makeup, since you're applying it directly on top of your eyeshadow primer, but like I said, it'll help it blend a little bit easier. I like to cake it on. It helps your colors stand out a little bit more. And it just overall kind of helps with your makeup application. So, you know, why not try it? Why not do it? And once your base eyeshadow is applied, you are free to create whatever you want. Basically, having the base eyeshadow and the primer and your eyebrows done, however you choose to have your brows done, has basically set up your canvas to create whatever you're about to create. And that is the brow tutorial for you guys. I really hope you guys learned something new today, maybe even picked up a new technique. I went ahead and kept today's makeup look pretty simple just because the main focus was on the brows. I really hope you guys like what you saw here today. Please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. I'd love to have you guys here for future videos. And until next time, guys, I'll see ya!